I know how to lose weight. I just don't know how to keep the weight off. If you've ever said that before, listen to this episode all the way through. It's going to change your life and your perspective on permanent and sustainable weight loss and what it takes to actually put obesity behind you for good this time. If you're new to the show, welcome. Hi, I'm Nick. I lost 110 pounds 6 years ago, and I actually kept it off with ease after a lifetime of losing weight and gaining it back on every single diet you've ever heard of or that has ever existed. Now I've created this show and this podcast to help you do the same thing. Welcome. If you're someone that says, I know how to lose weight and I don't know how to keep the weight off, there's a couple things that you need to understand. The first thing is that the way you lose weight dictates how sustainable your results are. So you and me, right, think or thought that we're going to lose a bunch of weight really fast as we can, ideally, because we don't want to be fat. We want to be skinny right now, which logically makes sense, even though we know that's not possible. We want to get down to our weight loss goal, and then we're going to figure out our maintenance plan after we get there, right? So this is like, we actually logically know this isn't true. So the feeling is that we're going to do that, and that's a lie that we tell ourselves, because the feeling of progress and losing weight on the scale is actually way more addicting and feels way better than the idea of even thinking about putting the weight off or keeping the weight off. And the idea of putting obesity behind you actually feels impossible when you're fat. It's like, that's like a miracle la la land. I'll figure that out when I get there. I got to lose weight before I figure out how to keep it off. I'm putting the cart before the horse, right? I got to lose, okay, that has never happened ever. I've never, ever, ever one time met someone that lost weight doing something that they did not want to do in the long term that then made some kind of transition to keeping it off. I've never met someone that lost weight on keto, ever. I'm talking 50 plus pounds. I've never met someone that lost 50 pounds on keto that did started eating carbs after they lost the weight and then maintained the weight loss long term. I've met people that have lost weight on keto and then started eating carbs and then, they kept it off for like 6 months and it sucked. And then after that, they just slowly started gaining it back or rapidly. I'm talking about putting it behind you for good. I've never seen it. You've never seen it either, because it's never fucking happened, right? So the first thing that you need to realize is that the way you're looking at it does not work. It feels good in the moment, but it's a lie that we tell ourselves to avoid actually addressing the problems that you need to address to put obesity behind you for good. We're going to talk about this on the show. The way that we're going to do that is I'm going to walk you through a visualization of what your life would actually be like if you were at your goal weight and how you would want your life to be. And then we're going to get clear on what you would live like after you already lost the weight. We're going to bring it into the present moment. So there's no more of this, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to figure out how to keep the weight off. We're flipping that into, how do I want to live when I'm at my goal weight, and how can I live like that right now? We're doing that for a couple of reasons. One is because then when you get to your goal weight, you don't have to change anything about your life. If it takes you 180 days to lose weight, and on day 181, your life is different than it was on day 72, 100 something days before that, you're not going to be able to sustain that transition most likely. The idea is that at day 30, you're living the same lifestyle that you're living at day 180 after you hit your goal. Nothing should be changing behaviorally after you hit your weight loss goal. If things are changing after you hit your weight loss goal, it's because the way that you did it was not sustainable. So we're going to fix that right now. If you're fed the fuck up with doing the up and down bullshit the way I did my whole life, get a pen, get a paper. I'm going to walk you through a visualization. Then I'm going to ask you 18 questions. After asking these 18 questions, you're going to write the answer down on a piece of paper if you want to, right? And you're going to read it to yourself every single day for the next 7 days. This is the exact kind of work that I did on myself that led to me putting obesity behind me. This is the exact kind of work that I do with my clients all the time. And it's why they're losing weight and actually keeping the weight off. So first things first, grab a pen, grab a paper. If you don't have it, pause it and then come right back. Okay, if you're still here, I'm assuming that you've got one. If you're driving, pause this episode, come back to it when you have a pen and a paper. Let's first get clarity on what we actually want for our lives and how we want to be living when we're at our goal weight. Here's how we're going to do it. Close your eyes, take a really, really, really big breath, deepest breath of the entire day, all the way down into your stomach. And with your eyes closed, you can imagine walking through a park from your own eyes. So you're not looking at yourself. You're looking from your own eyes, walking through a park. If you have a partner or a man or a woman or whatever language you like to use, doesn't matter. You could look to your left and visualize you're holding that person's hand and they're looking back at you smiling. And the sun is shining down on you. You look down and you can see your shoes. You could even move your head down with your eyes closed. You can see your shoes clearly. Your stomach's not in the way. You can see your belt buckle if you're wearing a belt. and you look out onto the corner, you're still walking, there's a pretty girl or a pretty guy with a dog over there on the right. You've got a nice water or a black coffee or some tea in your other hand while you're walking. And you are just fully walking, not even thinking about what other people think about you, not thinking about how hot it is outside because you're too fat, that you're sweating. The humidity is not bothering you. It feels good. It feels like you have good blood flow and good vascularity. You don't smell sweaty or dirty the way I did when I was fat, the way you might right now. That's totally fine. Nobody's looking at you thinking that person needs to lose weight. You don't have any heartburn. You're fully actually present in the moment with the sun hitting you, holding your man or your woman or whatever they are, their hand. You're smiling at strangers. Someone comes up to you. Their dog walks by. You stop and pet the dog. You bend down and pet that dog. Your back doesn't hurt when you bend down. You stand back up and say, oh, cute dog. Dog owner says, hey, thanks. Hey, yeah, have a great day. You stand up. You keep walking. Like imagine that simple thing that you have maybe never experienced in that way with extreme presence, because we're thinking about, God, the sun is so hot outside, I'm so sweaty. We're thinking about, God, what are people thinking when they're looking at me? We're thinking about, oh, I wonder, I don't know, my knees hurt when I'm walking, my back hurts. We're making noises like, when we bend over to pet somebody's dog. Like that's the world that I lived in, right? And to imagine that that actually does not need to be a thing anymore. And here's how it's not going to be a thing anymore. Write these down. Question number 1. That version of you, what do they eat in a normal day? From a quality of food perspective, what kinds of foods do they eat in a day? And if you go straight to, oh, they eat low-calorie, high-protein foods, challenge that perspective. They actually eat whole and natural foods in normal quantities. And they eat bullshit food when there's a cause for celebration, meaning that they eat cake on birthdays, they drink beer on Thursday night, they have one with their friends at happy hour, they're not drinking alcohol every night, they're not going to McDonald's and getting a low-calorie fry with a single cheeseburger because it fits their macros. They're eating healthy foods. Their skin is glowing, right? They don't have a bunch of wrinkles all over their face because they sleep like shit because of the bad food that they're eating, and how they don't wake up bloated the next day. The way that they do that is they eat whole and natural foods. Right? So my answer to this question is they eat healthy foods unless there is a reason not to. But write down your answer to that question. How do they eat in a normal day? What kinds of foods do they eat in a normal day? And the second question is, what do they say to themselves when they look in the mirror? So not how do they feel when they look in the mirror, right? We don't have complete control over our feelings all the time. We do have complete control over our literal actions at all times, though it might not feel like it. So that version of yourself, not the skinny version of yourself, the healthiest version of yourself, when they look in the mirror, the person that's walking down the park with no problem, fully present on that trail, when they look in the mirror in the morning and they're brushing their teeth, what do they say to themselves, right? So when I was fat, my dialogue was like, you fat fuck, I can't believe we fucking got this bad. Like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You deserve better and you just can't do it. You don't have to be so lazy. You can do it. You can, like, just try to motivate myself after then saying that I didn't like myself and all this kind of shit. And it never went away. What does this version of yourself say when they look in the mirror? So they might say something like, I believe in you. I'm developing love for you. Sometimes I feel like I don't got this, but I logically know that I do. And that's a cool feeling. They would be radically honest. Is my answer to that question for myself is they say the truth when they look in the mirror. They don't lie to themselves. They don't try to speak self-love into themselves. They say the actual truth. So answer to that question, number 2. What do they say when they look in the mirror? Number 3 is, how do they move their body and how often? So do they walk daily? Do they go to the gym? Do they work out at home? What does that look like? Exactly. And this is a major reason why people gain the weight back is we over-exercise and then we get down, like over cardio, for example. I did that in parts of my journey to lose a bunch of weight, burn a bunch of calories. And then we get down and we go, I hit my weight loss goal. Yes. I'm not going back to walking hours a day or running or elliptical after I hit my weight loss goal. I logically know that, right? So how often do you move your body after you already hit your weight loss goal, ideally? Write that down. Are you walking every day? How often are you in the gym? For me, it's walking 7 days a week, first thing in the morning before I do anything else, right when I get out of bed, and doing workouts from home or the gym 2, 3, potentially 4 days a week, depending on the week, but a minimum of 2. So write that down. And what you're doing is you're actually building your plan, right? Everything you're writing on this piece of paper actually is your path to putting obesity behind you for good. Number 4 is, what do they do for work? How do they make money? Because a lot of y'all listening to this, including myself when I was fat, hate our fucking jobs, right? I hate my boss. I'm like bitching about my boss and my job, and my coworkers are bitching about the spam callers from India every morning, and it drives me crazy. The reality is that if you're someone, you're dealing with some version of emotional eating to some extent. If you're 50 plus pounds overweight and have been losing weight and getting it back forever, this concept of learning how to exist with emotional eating is one thing. But when we look at actually healing, actually putting the issue behind you versus living in the discipline of it forever, for example, learning how to work through cravings versus not having the cravings, learning how to work through binge eating versus not having the urges to binge, those are very different things, right? You want to actually put it behind you, you need to actually heal. And the way to heal this part of yourself is to get clear on what is causing anxiety for you, or emotional eating or binging or whatever, and then address the things. For a lot of people, it's like, I hate my job, right? So the question becomes, why do you hate your job? What if you had to get a different job? Well, I don't know. That'd be hard. Well, yeah, no shit. This is why permanent weight loss is really confronting, because you have to build a lifestyle of someone who actually believes in themselves so that you can start believing in yourself, right? And so what do they do for work? If you're an accountant and you hate being an accountant, does this healthiest version of yourself that's fully present walking through the park, like that has more control over food, that's eating healthy food, that's moving regularly, are they an accountant or not? Because if they're not in that visual, then you need to change your career. And if you are not in a place to change your career, you need to put yourself in a place where you can change your career. This is why permanent weight loss is so confronting. This is why no diet will ever save you from these issues that you're dealing with if you do not address the lifestyle things and how you feel about yourself. So what do they do for work is number 4. For me, it was, I was working a job that I hated, 60 plus hours a week, just cold calling all the time. So I hated my job. I'd come home and then eat because I felt really good. Took a lot of pressure off of eating when I got into a career that I didn't love, but I hated substantially less. And that was selling software for security systems to government contractors. It's like that also increased my income from 50 to 55K to 160K a year in a 2.5-year span. So when I started taking these leaps, everything in my life started changing. Financially, the way I felt about myself, it took a lot of the pressure off of food and solved a lot of the things that led to me not feeling good about myself and gave me the mental space to actually do that. So number 4 is, what do they do for work? Number 5 is, what time do they wake up in the morning? This is different for everybody, right? And it could change over time. This isn't you're not making a commitment to do this every day for the rest of your life necessarily, but the healthiest version of yourself that's already lost weight, that feels in control of their life, what time do they wake up in the morning? Do they wake up the same time on the weekends, or does that change a little bit? The answer is different for everyone, but a lot of us are just letting life happen to us, and we're waking up when we feel like it, and we're eating what we feel like when we feel like it. You need to see the connection between these things. Again, no diet is going to save you from the fact that you're not living the lifestyle of a healthy person. It's about so much more than food, right? What time do they wake up in the morning? For me, it's changed month to month sometimes, but it's 6:30 is the time when the healthiest version of myself wakes up. 4 to 5 starts getting a bit obsessive for me. 7:30 to 8 feels like I'm sleeping in and I'm behind for the day. So my healthiest self wakes up at 6:30, and I got clarity on that on my weight loss journey and started actually doing that. And it changes from a biological perspective. It helps you with your circadian rhythm, helps with your energy levels, helps with your quality of sleep, decreases the amount of cravings. But from a purely mental perspective, which is what we're a bit more focused on, common sense is it makes you feel better about yourself. It's an opportunity for you to prove to yourself that you can be really consistent. It's very, very rare to see someone that's 100 pounds overweight that wakes up at the same time 7 days a week. Very rare. Very, very, very rare. Has it ever happened? Yeah, I just haven't seen that before. So what time do they wake up? Number 6 is, what do they do for fun that doesn't have anything to do with food? So this healthiest version of yourself, what are their hobbies? It's probably not Netflix or scrolling or getting wasted or smoking weed every single day. When you think about this healthiest version of yourself, it's probably not that shit, right? And it's different for everyone. Could be art, could be singing, could be karaoke, could be just journaling, could be just going on walks in nature or hiking, could be kayaking, depending on the season, could be swimming, could be something, it could have nothing to do with activity at all, could be pottery, could be cooking classes. I guess that has something to do with food, but not quite in the same way that we're talking about, not going out to eat, right? What do they do for fun that is not going out to eat? For me, it's basketball, hiking slash walking outside in the forest, and drinking cacao and kava. Like, I love that kind of stuff. The kind of just grounding, it's meditation, yoga classes. I'm less into yoga than I probably should be. Meditation classes, breathwork classes. These sorts of things are very calming to me, and I actually really enjoy them. Pausing this podcast for 1 second because I have an ask for you as the listener. I'd love to keep this show ad-free, and the best way you can support me in doing that is by leaving a rating on Spotify, Apple, or even on YouTube if you're on there. It takes 3 to 5 seconds, and it really helps me to get this message out to other people like you that deserve to know permanent weight loss is possible. Thanks for your support, and I'll love you forever, and really love them. When I was fat, I didn't have a lot of clarity on that. But as I was losing weight, I started to get more clarity on what it is that the healthiest version of myself actually wanted to do for fun. So ask yourself, what do they do for fun? And then again, how can I start doing those things right now in this present moment? The issue is that a lot of us say things like, well, they travel, but I can't travel right now because I'm fat. Yes, you can. The part of yourself that's like, I'm going to wait to do that until I hit my weight loss goal is directly tied to the part of yourself that is saying, I know how to lose weight and I don't know how to keep the weight off. Everything that you want to do after you hit your weight loss goal, you have to find a way to do before you hit your weight loss goal, including going to the beach in your bikini, including dating people, including relationships if you're single, right? All of these things we have to address right now and not put off. Maybe not today, but you need to address them on the journey of act before you hit your goal. So if it's travel, then the question is, why aren't you traveling right now, right? And the answer to that is different for everyone, but it's probably tied to, because, I'm going to lose weight, reward myself with it, or I'm going to, if I'm too fat to travel. Get a first class ticket. I don't have a first class ticket because I don't have the money. Get a job that has the money. And you can see how this is all connected, right? Well, Nick, I don't have the time to get a different job because I have 2 kids. Well, you're going to have to find the time, because if you don't figure out how to actually address all of these things that are so deeply connected, you're wasting time right now trying to figure out how to lose weight in a way that you will never, ever actually will keep the weight off. All of these things are deeply connected to how you feel about yourself. And when you start addressing them, they start changing your internal dialogue, which you need to do to actually make an identity switch into being a healthy person. It's not about losing weight. It's about actually being a healthy person that gives a fuck about themselves and about their own lives. And the only way to do it is to address all of these different things. And it's overwhelming. It's like, oh my God, there's so much to change. I don't know where to start. Start by reading these answers to these questions to yourself every morning so that you can see the opportunities throughout the day to live in further alignment to the identity you actually are saying you want, the life that you would like to feel more deserving of. Pausing this episode for 1 second to give you an update on my mom's weight loss journey. She's been working with me through the Common Sense Diet System for the last 8 weeks, and she has lost 9 pounds and is currently 200.6 pounds. So she's right about to cross into what everybody loves to call Wonderland, and she's excited about that. But we are putting a lot more focus on the behaviors that are changing off of the scale than we are the number on the scale, so that she can actually sustain her results this time. If you have not watched the episodes of me and my mom, go back and watch the few different podcast episodes, and you can literally put yourself through the exact same coaching process that I've been putting her through. Let's get back to the show. Number 7 is, what rituals or habits do they prioritize? This means different things to different people, right? What rituals or habits, separate from hobbies. For me, it's waking up and making a nice drink in the morning is a ritual of mine. Looking at myself in the mirror the same way that you're ideally doing after this episode, should you choose to be one of the 2 or 3 people that do, is a ritual of mine that I do every single morning, regardless of how I feel. And I've been doing it every single day for 5 to 6 years. Like, I don't know if I've missed a day of intentionally looking at myself in the eye in the mirror. And that's a ritual that helps me connect to myself and helps me remember why the fuck I chose to come to this planet in the first place, and the reason why I'm here, the reason why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, the reason why I'm making this podcast episode. The way that I stay connected to that is by looking at myself in the mirror. That's my ritual. But the question for you is, what rituals or habits do they prioritize on a daily or regular basis? Number 8, what do they do when they are stressed? This changes, again, from person to person. There's no right or wrong answers here. But this healthiest version of yourself, what do they do when they're stressed? And you can even, all of these questions, right? Also, what you can answer them for the present moment as well. What do you do when you're stressed right now? What do you want to do when you're stressed? And identify that gap between who you are and who you want to be. Recognize the way to become that person is to take the action, right? So what do they do when they are stressed? For me, it's as simple as just walking outside or taking a really big deliberate breath and being radically honest with myself about why I am stressed. So that's the number one thing for me, is to own the stress and state the reason why I'm stressed. I'm stressed because this thing happened, or this thing's stressing me out. My next question is this something that I can change? Yes or no? A lot of the times it's no. Like, I'm stressed because this thing I got, 5 years ago, I got fired from my job at one point. I'm stressed because I got fired from my job. Can I change that I got fired from my job? No, I can't. Okay, I'm going to let myself sit in the stress and honor it and feel that feeling. What do you do when you're stressed? Number 9, this is where it starts to get much more social. How do they speak to other people? So a lot of people talk about this concept of skinny privilege. I'm so much more confident when I'm skinnier. When I weigh less, I'll feel better when I hit my weight loss goal. I'll speak more from the depth of my soul, my balls if I'm a man, my heart if I'm a woman, whatever that looks like, right? Or whatever other else you might be. How do you speak to other people? When I was fat, I couldn't make eye contact with people. The tonality of my voice, the pitch was very different. The pace at which I spoke was very different. The way that I moved my hands when I spoke was very different. My facial expressions were very, very, very different. And I got very granular on being really honest with myself about how I present right now and how I would like to present as the healthiest version of myself. And then I started practicing that while I was actually losing weight. So kind of bringing what I want for the future in the present tense. This is what manifestation is. This is how you avoid the transitionary point of, I hit my weight loss goal. Oh my God, I don't know how to keep it off. You will know how to keep it off should you start practicing these things right now. How do you speak to other people is number 9. You can think about eye contact, tonality of voice, pace of speech, and how other people perceive you. The 10th one is, how do you speak to yourself? What is your internal dialogue, right? You can't always change your internal dialogue, but you can change your reaction to your internal dialogue. So I'm losing weight. My internal dialogue is, oh, don't eat that cheat meal. Come on. Oh my God. And then I'd eat and go, oh, you fat fuck. Can't believe that you ate that French fries. Like, you're 337 calories over for the day. Might as well just say, fuck it. Right. That was a lot of my dialogue. The healthiest version of myself is like, oh, you want French fries? Well, why do you want the French fries? No, I'm just going to crave them. Okay. Well, let's eat something healthier and then see if we're still craving them. That's what the healthiest version of myself says. The truth is that the healthiest version of myself doesn't even have cravings in the first place, really. Like, not in an unreasonable way where I feel out of control. But if he ever did, that was the path that I would take. So I started practicing that while I was on the journey. That's my internal dialogue, right? My internal dialogue is one of complete radical honesty and one of accountability and one of motivating myself and being what I need in other people for myself. Shit, I'm lonely. I got you, man. I got your back. I'm right here for you. That's ideally my internal dialogue with my healthiest self. And I practiced that when I was losing weight. Number 11 is, what words do they not use? And this is an interesting one. Healthiest version of yourself. What are they not saying to themselves? Cheat meal should be number 1 on that list. The concept of cheat meals is not a thing. Eat healthy foods unless there's a reason not to. If there's a reason not to, meaning a celebratory moment, or common sense site rule number 9, for those of you that have been following for some time, is eat mom's apple pie when she makes it. That's not a cheat meal, right? So the healthiest version of yourself probably doesn't say cheat meal. What else does the healthiest version of yourself not say? What words do they not use? They probably don't flip themselves off in the mirror. They probably don't grab their fat and hate on it. Whatever it might be for you, how do they not speak to themselves? What words do they not use? Number 12 is, what kind of content do they consume on the internet? Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Porn, if that's a thing for you. If you're a guy, you've probably dabbled in that to some point in your life. Women, we're not going to relate to that as much, and 70% of you listening to this are women, so ignore that if that's the case. But that's also content that is not helping you, right? That's frying your dopamine and making you feel worse about your life, especially afterwards. So what kind of content does the healthiest version of yourself consume? Are they scrolling, looking at low-calorie, high-protein recipes on TikTok all day? Or Instagram, or whatever other platform that you're on? Are they constantly just reading cookbooks all the time, looking at different recipes that we never actually make all the time, right? Are they watching the news? Like, is the healthiest version of yourself even giving a damn about the news or the presidency or political? Like, all it's the healthiest version of yourself, really like bitching to people about Trump or Biden or whatever the fuck you're into that is not, you have basically no impact on at all, that we're just wasting our energy on. Does the healthiest version of yourself even give a fuck? Or are they just trying to change the world by changing who they are and how they feel as a person, which is what we're doing right now together on this show? Like, really sit with that. Does the healthiest version of yourself really care enough about politics that they're letting it piss themselves off and create a bunch of anxiety where we're all the time consuming content on the news from things that may or may not even be true? Probably not. It's not that they're out of touch with what's happening in the world, but they're probably not consuming a bunch of content that makes them feel like shit, right? So what sort of content actually makes you feel good after you watch it? Not what's entertaining while you watch it. What kind of content makes you feel good after you watch or listen to it? Maybe this podcast, maybe not, right? For some of you, this podcast is probably triggering as fuck. It probably makes you feel like shit because we're looking at the parts of ourselves that we don't really allow ourselves to look at very often. That can be really uncomfortable. But what sort of content is either helping you feel better after you watch it, changing your energy for the positive, or helping you move the ball forward in your own life? There's really no reason to ever regularly consume content outside of those three things. And the healthiest version of yourself probably does not do that. Number 13 is, how do they set boundaries with other people? So this came up with a client of mine recently, which is why it's one of these questions. When other people are dumping their shit on you, that's making you feel like shit, like, oh my God, I'm your friend, your best friend. I'm so stressed. I don't know what to do. And you know what they could do. And you're like, well, God damn it. Like, if you just could do the thing the same way that people think about you when you keep talking about losing weight and then you quit and other people lost trust in you and you've lost trust in yourself because you haven't done it. You've been saying you're going to do it your whole life, but you keep restarting every Monday, right? You have friends that are doing the same shit with or without their weight, right? They're talking about, oh my God, I got to leave this I'm not happy in my relationship, in my marriage, but I just can't because the kids, and they're just in the same cycle for their whole life of never doing the thing that they actually feel called to do because they're scared, right? So they just keep dumping it on you all the time. It just becomes a part of your guys' relationship. And you start associating that person with anxiety in yourself, because you're always bitching about their problems. The same way you might be doing, like, you might also be this person to other people too. So recognize that. Like, I was that person, right? But it goes both ways. How do you set boundaries with other people? An example of a boundary that you might set with someone in that situation is, hey, I'm hearing that you're going through a tough time, and I've been witnessing you going through that tough time for a long time. I'm noticing a pattern in you that you're not actually taking the action to get out of this. And I'm in full support of whatever you want to do. But I need to set a boundary of, I'm not available to keep talking about this all the time, because when we do, it makes me feel a lot of anxiety and it changes my mood. I want to support you in taking an action and holding space for you when it makes sense. But you just being stuck in the same thing, I don't feel like it's serving for you. And I actually don't feel like it's good for our relationship for this to be the centerpiece of it. So I got to set a boundary here. I don't want to talk about this every single time that I see you, because I love you and I want to show up as the best version of myself. Does that make sense? That's boom, boundary. How does that land for you? Yeah. What can I do to actually support you in a way that would help us work through this? Here are some actions you might be able to take. Can I help you in taking these actions? That's what actually supporting someone looks like. And that's what setting a boundary looks like. And that's how you protect your own energy, which helps you stop emotionally eating and feeling so much fucking drama and so much negativity all the time, right? Notice how little we're talking about food and how much we're talking about life. It's because you don't have a food problem. You have a life problem, and you've been using food to hide from these parts of your life that you might not see, or that you just don't let yourself see, but you know we're there. Number 14 is, who do they spend time with? What kind of people do they hang around? This comes up all the time. This is actually one of the most confronting things with weight loss, is that it's very rare. Let's drop those skinny fat words, and we're going to say healthy, unhealthy, because we're keeping in mind there's lots of unhealthy people that are skinny, that are still eating shit, but they just didn't grow up fat or having issues with quantity of food the way that we all know skinny people that eat fried chicken strips and pizza multiple times a week, and they're still skinny, right? And they don't exercise. They don't look amazing. They're not healthy, but it's like, they're not fat, right? That's not what you want for yourself. You want the glowing skin. You want the clear skin, smile, radiance, health. You don't want skinny, you want health. You do need to be a healthy body weight to have a healthy body, right? So it doesn't go both ways. You can be unhealthy and skinny, but you cannot be healthy and fat. You might not have any pressing medical issues and be fat, but the actual truth is that you're very prone to different medical issues, which is stopping you from stepping into the full radiance of health. And like, we got to be honest with that, right? Tough to hear. It's the actual truth. You can eat healthy and still be fat, but the reality is that if you're a really, really healthy person, you are not carrying extra body fat more than you actually need. And that's okay. It's a rep. It's not okay if we're in the same position 6 to 12 months from now. So the issue is that you very rarely see healthy people spending a lot of time with unhealthy people. And that's because you have two energies. You have healthy energy and you have unhealthy energy. Unhealthy energy is way more contagious than healthy energy. Your friend that's like, yeah, let's all go get pizza, has more influence over your group than your friend that's like, let's all go get some chicken with some rice with a side of fruit or whatever, right? The person that wants the unhealthy thing has more influence because there's more appeal to the unhealthy thing in the short term. So the energy of unhealthy is more contagious than the energy of healthy, which is why you do not see healthy people regularly spending time with unhealthy people. It's why you don't see healthy people in marriages or partnerships or fucking whatever you want to call it with unhealthy people almost ever. But very, very, very rarely. And when you do, there's compromises that are made that become issues in the relationship over time because there's differences in lifestyle and there's differences in how those people feel about their lives. They're not, and it's going to be very difficult for them to be in energetic alignment with each other, right? So who do they spend time with? They're probably not spending time with people that treat themselves like bullshit all the time. And this is where weight loss becomes really confronting, right? Well, I want to prioritize myself, but my friends don't. There's an element of you can exist in the still going out with your friends to the bars, to the pizza buffets, to the Golden Corrals, to all the weekly rituals that you may or may not have, right? And you can just say no to those things. But for most people, including myself, it does actually get in the way of those relationships. And especially if your friends are fat. Some of my friends were fat. I didn't have like a fat group of friends, but like a third of my friends were probably what people would consider to be obese, right? And me and those people never got together and were like having a real conversation about sustainable weight loss. We were eating together and drinking beer and be like, oh, I wish I wasn't fat. If I wasn't fat, I would, I would definitely date that girl. If I wasn't fat, I would definitely, like, just stupid shit, right? Talking about things that we're not even doing. And it's like, the reality is, one of the best things that you can do is honor the truth that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. That's not a buzzword sentence that people throw around online. That's the actual truth. The key is to get around healthy people by becoming a healthy person. What I did when I lost weight is I spent a lot of time alone. And that was easier for me to do than it might be some people listening to this that I didn't have a family. I broke up with my girlfriend at the time, so I spent a lot of time alone to figure this shit out and to build this process for myself that I call the common sense diet system that we talk about on the show all the time. I did that in isolation in a lot of ways. And that made it easier for me because I didn't have people influencing me besides very specific people on social media that I was intentionally consuming content from. And it's like, when you were around, well, my kids eat this food and my wife eats this food or my husband eats this food, my best friends eat this food. It's like, you got two options. Number one is you set a boundary. Number two is you try to spend some time alone, or you've got the third option, which is you just sit there and do nothing and you just keep going, trying to be the healthy person in your group of unhealthy people. There's actually a fourth option, which is you lead. And you become the leader that your family or your group or whatever needs, or your coworkers, if you're whatever need, and you set the stage. Hey, this is the direction that I'm going and I want you all to come with me. Or if they're your kids and you're coming with me, not to diet and lose weight, but to be healthy because I want you to live forever, son, daughter, husband, wife, because I want to live as long as I can to be here for you, son, daughter, husband, wife, friends, right? Like, do you have the courage to be the person that's like, I'm going this direction. And if you want to come with me, there's a seat here with you and we can do it together. And if you don't have the courage to do that and you're like, I'm just going to keep hanging out with these people, I'm just going to find a way to say no, you can do that. It's just significantly harder and significantly harder. And anything that you can do to get healthier people in your life, whether that's in the form of a virtual community or people in person or whatever that might look like, get around people that are playing pickleball, that are swimming at the pool, and own to these people. Yeah, I'm changing my life. I'm changing my lifestyle. Can you get to the point where I'm fat? It's hard to hang out with healthy people when you're fat because healthy people look at you and you're fat, and like that, it's like that is a different energy, right? So can you own to them? Shit, this is where I'm at and I'm changing my life and I'm looking to meet healthier people that are more conducive and aligned with the energy that I am living in right now and calling in more into my own future. Like, can you speak that? And can you speak it with realness so that people feel it, not as some scripted bullshit? Can you actually meet someone at a fucking tennis court and be like, hey, I'm on this health journey right now. And I'm trying to find healthier people to surround myself with. Would you want to play tennis together sometime? if you can say that to someone, you will start attracting. You're going to attract whatever you are, right? So if you're moving with an unhealthy energy, you're going to attract unhealthy energy all the time. If you're moving with an energy of health, even if you're fat, right? Health is a mindset. Your body is a representation of how you feel about yourself and the health or unhealthiness that you've been living in over the course of the last couple of years. So if you can live in that for a year, your body will catch up to your healthy mind. You can have a healthy mind right now. You can choose to present in a healthy way and have a healthy mind right now, go out in public and attract healthier people into your field, even though you're fat. It's important, if you have the courage, to address that to them. That's how you actually build real trust with someone. And that's how you actually surround yourself with people that are going to give a fuck enough about you to actually help you, and that you can help as well over time too. So the next question, number 14, is who do they spend time with? Number 15 is how do people describe her or him or them? How do people describe this person? People describe me as blank. Happy, fun, sad, depressed, dieting, calorie counting. Right? Are you still going out like talking about your diet even after you've lost weight? Probably not, right? So how do people describe you? Number 16 is what are you working towards? What are they working towards? This healthiest version of yourself. Impact, legacy, financial freedom, magic, adventure, fun. What are they working towards? Getting a new house. They're working towards putting their kid into a private school. They're working towards trying to becoming the kind of person that feels worthy of having a husband or a wife or a boyfriend or a girlfriend to marry, to have kids eventually. And what is the thing that they are actually working towards? Because what you'll realize is that if you just lose weight and then you get to your weight loss goal, you're going to clear up all this space. And even if you don't do it the right way, if you do it by just fucking starving yourself and fasting with keto and counting everything obsessively, and you get all the way down to your weight loss goal, you're going to get there and you're going to go, oh my God, thank God. Now I can think about something else. And then you're going to start thinking about something else. And you're going to realize that if all these habits that you just built are suddenly gone, and you're going to start feeling like shit. And you're going to go back and see that you gained 9 pounds in 2 weeks. You go, how's that even possible? Oh my God, you're going to go right back into dieting. And you're going to go boom, 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 until you get all the way up to gaining the weight back. The reality is, in doing this sustainably, there's a whole other world, right? Where you do it sustainably. Nothing changes habitually once you hit your weight loss goal because you've been living with this routine for a long time, walking every day, waking up. There's no change in behavior. Right? At all. You get to your weight loss goal. You might eat 100 calories more, or 2 or 3, because you don't need to be in a calorie deficit, but that's not going to change anything, right? Now you need to focus on something else. You need to have something else that you're working towards, because you put all this energy into yourself. You put all this energy into weight loss. If you do not put energy into something else to improve on, you will sabotage yourself, because we are meant to be moving at all times. Like, we're meant to rest, but we're meant to be making progress in something in our lives at all times, day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, decade to decade, birth to death. You need to progress at things, right? A bicycle that is not moving forward falls over. Your bicycle needs to be moving forward at all times in something. It doesn't need to be constantly, how do I make more money? Constantly, how do I take better care of myself? But it needs to be some version of finances, freedom, family, relationships, love, sex, any of these things that you care about. You need to be making progress in one of those things. Otherwise, you are going to sabotage yourself, because what happens is we love making progress. And one of the best ways to make progress is to subconsciously do shit to sabotage ourselves to gain weight so that we can lose it again. Think about this. You lose 50 pounds in 6 months. You hit your weight loss goal. The next week you gain 3 pounds back. Feels like shit. The week after that, you lose 3 pounds. How good did it feel to just lose that 3 pounds that you just gained? It actually felt, if you get plus 15 points for the feeling of losing it, you only lost 12 points for the feeling of losing the weight. Losing weight for gaining the weight. Losing weight feels better than the negativity that you gain from gaining it. Let me say head cap. I think I said that backwards. If you gain 1 pound, you might lose 10 happiness points. If you lose 1 pound, you might gain 15 happiness points. There's more positivity. It feels better to lose than the negativity of gaining. So we can play this game. It's like gambling, right? So winning $500 on a hand feels more positive than the negativity feels negative from losing $500 in a hand. And that's why people continue gambling, because it's addicting, right? Even though over time they're not making progress. I mean, it's impossible, right? Unless you're counting cards or doing something else. At the casino, you're never going to make progress playing against a casino. So it's the exact same thing with weight loss. You got to be able to see that correlation there. Recognize that you're not addicted to food, but you are addicted to the feeling of making progress. Everyone is. So what you get to do now is choose what you want to make progress with. I have a client of mine named Black Minnie who was on the show 3 or 4 weeks ago. You can go back and listen to that if you'd like to really be inspired, who stepped into on her weight loss journey. She's going, okay, I used to love art and theater, and we took the part of herself that's like, when I lose weight, then I will go and get back into art and theater, even though it's been like 20 years or something. And we were like, let's do that right now. Right now. So she lost 20 or 30 pounds and then just went straight into theater and is now back to being an actress, which is like so fucking cool. She still got like 50 or so pounds to lose, or maybe a little more, but she's already doing it. So there's not a difference in behavior for after she loses the weight. There's no doubt in my mind or hers or anybody's that this is the journey where she keeps the weight off forever because she's already living the lifestyle that she wants to once she does it. So see that connection there, right? Now she's got something else that she's progressing in, which is her career. Her getting on stage and acting and performing and having fun. That ties into hobbies, right? All these things are extremely, extremely, extremely deeply connected. She has something to progress in. If you lose weight and you do not choose what you're going to progress in or fill that space with, the world will choose for you, and it will not be something that is serving to your health or to what you actually want. Number 17 is, what are they no longer available for? What are they no longer available for? And this can be a bit redundant. Some of the other questions, that's totally okay. I'm no longer available for extreme negativity in my life. I'm no longer available for self-doubt. I'm no longer available for negative people. I'm no longer available for honoring the part of myself that doesn't feel whatever it might be. What are they not available for? I'm no longer available for the abuse from my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my husband or my wife. I'm no longer available for my kids running this household telling me what they're going to eat. I'm no longer available for the part of myself that's like, I can't go on a walk because my kids, and I'm too scared to get my kid out on the walk because I know they're going to scream, and I don't even feel in control of my own family. Like, I'm no longer available for that. Whatever it is, everyone's situation is very different. What are they no longer available for? This takes radical honesty, right? Real radical honesty. And number 18, this is the closing question. How do they handle cravings or emotional hunger? And this is a bit of a trick question, because what you'll realize is that in actually addressing those 17 other questions, if you actually do that, you will lose weight and keep the weight off. And you'll realize that they don't actually really have cravings or urges to eat emotionally. So how do they handle cravings or emotional hunger? They don't really actually have them, because they've actually healed these parts of themselves and have allowed themselves to get really clear on what they want and where the gap is on why they don't have that thing, and then actually took the aligned action to get it over a period of time. And what you'll find is that the control you felt out, the reason you feel out of control with food is because you feel out of control in your life. There's only so much we can control, right? But there are actions that we can absolutely control. And when you start creating a sense of control in your own life, you're going to find that that is the same fucking thing with food. When you start working through your cravings to sleep in every single day, or your cravings to, just go to work and scroll on social media, you're going to find that you don't have the same cravings for food. Now, of course, this comes with also meeting this with what I call the common sense diet, which is actually properly nutritioning, properly fueling your body, not starving yourself. If you're starving yourself and you do this other work, you're still going to have constant cravings. If you're not eating a diet of mostly whole foods, you're going to have cravings no matter what. But if you also eat a diet of mostly whole, like this whole emotional part, the emotional cravings and emotional eating is solved by gaining clarity on where the emotions are coming from, asking yourself the question of, why am I eating this food? Doing that over a period of time so that it's not a question of how do I cope? It's a question of, I'm not the kind of person that copes from things that I can control because they're not coming up anymore. There will always be things that come up. There will always be stressors in life that you cannot control. Somebody getting sick, you losing your job, a financial issue that was out of your control, whatever it might be. And you do need to have the tools to work through those things. But you get to the point where you're not having a conversation with yourself around emotional eating. You're just going straight into looking at yourself in the mirror, getting clear on the path forward. Like, food doesn't become the emotional regulatory tool anymore. The same way that alcohol doesn't need to be, the same way weed doesn't need to be, the same way that scrolling on social media doesn't need to be. These things are deeply connected to an extent, though they're not all the same. The sooner that you realize you have not actually been living the lifestyle of somebody that has already lost the weight, and you start actually taking these steps to read yourself these 18 questions. Do it literally in the mirror. Are the answers every single day, every morning for 7 days. What you're going to find by actually doing that, read yourself 18 sentences. It'll take you 2 minutes to read everything you just wrote on the paper. And then look at yourself in the mirror, take a big breath, do it every morning right after you brush your teeth. You're going to find that throughout the day, you'll become a lot more aware of where the gaps are in these 18 different things. You'll become more aware of the conversation where you're like, oh, I really struggle to look at that person in the face. You'll become more aware of that emotional eating tendency that you're having, and you're in this pattern that you can't currently see. And through gathering that awareness, that's 80 to 90% of the battles, to have the presence to recognize these things when they're actually happening. You'll be able to actively make a choice to answer that is in alignment with the question of what would the healthiest version of myself do in this moment. So instead of saying, what would a healthy person do? You're saying, what would the healthiest version of myself that already lost the weight do in this exact moment? And now you have opportunities to just practice. Everything you're doing every day is just practicing the actions of that specific person. And you adopt that mentality for a week. You read this every single day for 7 days. I promise you, by the time you get to this next episode, you're going to be listening going, oh my God, that changed the perspective, my perspective of the world, my perspective of how capable I actually am, my perspective of what it actually takes to put obesity behind me for good. You can do that, and you deserve to do that. You will feel better, and the world will be a better place for you doing this work on yourself. If you made it to the end of the podcast, thanks for being here. If you'd like for me to guide you on your journey through the Common Sense Diet System, which is exactly what I built for and put myself through to actually put obesity behind me for good, I'd love to speak to you about it. You can talk to me about it by clicking the link in the description of this podcast episode or this YouTube video. Either way, see y'all next week.